Netflix has continually managed to surprise us in a number of ways, especially here in Korea. Personally, I found some of the production they've had, the Korean dramas, were amazing in terms of the money that's injected to it, and even more amazing considering how much money and how much effort and how much they have great source materials for it. It just really stinks. This is not the first time, and I look forward to the day when Netflix is able to hit a home run like what they did when they made great shows like Narcos or uh, Mindhunters in the U.S. And of course, in the U.S., they've had some hits and misses, and I don't know what the ratio is, but they do have some solid, amazing shows that just blows your mind away, which is why Netflix was able to float above the competition and still manage to stay afloat and have managed to claw in a lot of investments, I suppose. But in Korea, we've had Kingdom, which was highly acclaimed by most foreign media or foreign reviewers, but I feel like they were restraining from criticizing the show in terms of how it's got so much of the tested and done, been there, done that, done to death cliches all over. It's like a hash of Korean period drama and zombies, and they had some interesting little elements here and there. But again, I don't know if they're trying to cater to what they assume is the Korean crowd who like to see things be a little bit slow, be a little bit more character focused, and have a defocus on those emotional moments where they play this huge violin, emotional, metaphorical violin, and they just jerk those tears out as much as possible. We love soaking in this moment of tugging at our heartstrings and crying. There are certain viewers who like that, and it did appeal in Korea at some point, but I don't think that's the case in the 21st century. There are many Korean viewers they have experienced a lot of successful and amazing stories being told through the tube, and yeah, maybe that works for senior citizens or I don't know, certain generations, but not to those who actually go out and watch movies and watch dramas and watch other shows from other countries. Sweet Home is awful. It is just so sad, especially considering the fact that they've had a successful, very successful webtoon that it's based on that's loved around the world. Judging by how the world was not as critical of that zombie drama Kingdom as they should have been, I do feel concerned that critics from outside of Korea might be reluctant to attack it, fearing that it might make them seem, I don't know, maybe they want to seem more giving to Korean products or Asian products because they feel that as a non-Asian criticizing a bad Asian piece the way they see fit might actually reflect them in a bad light. I hope that doesn't happen. That's what I felt about reviews for Kingdom. And then we've had a very weird, quirky drama about a school nurse, which was this also based on a book. I don't know how successful the book was. I don't know how true to the original it was, but it had a catchy song. It had good actors. All in all, the Netflix Korean dramas, casting is great, acting is good, but the characters, the depth, the story, the pace, or some other wow factor, it's all missing. I can say that same applies to every one of them. The one that actually had some promise was the one called Ingan Suab. I forgot what it's called in English. The title is in English, but it's about this nerdy high school kid who actually is a huge pimp. Yeah, he's actually selling sex and making, raking in the dough. But it's this seemingly very upright, moral, by the book kind of character. So there's that interesting duality, sort of like Breaking Bad. It had a very promising premise, and then after the first few episodes, it just went off the rail. It just lost what made it special, what made it work, and he just continued to throw in something more spicy and zesty to really make it over the top, and they just lost control of it entirely. Again, good casting, good acting, good actors, good characters at the beginning, and then they lost it. For Sweet Home, I can say that this is 2020, and the CG, the monster action, it even pales in comparison to all these like Resident Evil. That's how bad it is. And they have a lot of copycat or homage or duplicates from, let's say, the weapons and the weapons used during hunting zombies in Walking Dead. So there seems like a lot of that there, and I wish they would not have emphasized that or made some more changes so that it doesn't look like carbon copies of Lucille from Walking Dead or the bow and arrow and whatnot. The character depth is very, very shallow in Sweet Home. I've heard the webtoons are amazing. The main character has a lot more internal language and there's a lot more backstory to it. And he's not this guy who just gets sick, but who's able to get powerful and suddenly save the day. There's a lot more involved in that. And as for the monsters, they're supposed to resemble something a lot more deeper than just something freaky that's got 11 legs that's going to attack you, and the CG looks sloppy and the actions are awful. There is very little action. There's just a lot of tentacles or, things being thrown. There's sharp things and whatnot, but it's supposed to be a cerebral, tactical maneuver and planning. That's supposed to be all the story. Like, if you remember the Japanese classic, I don't know the name in English, unfortunately, Parasite. Not the Korean Parasite, the Japanese Parasite manga and anime. It has a lot of great elements in terms of planning, in terms of questioning what's right and wrong, humanity, that we are the apex predators and we are actually killing. So why is it surprising when something else comes to get us? And here, there is very little backstory about what the monsters are. And apparently in the webtoons, every person that turned into this monster, they have a story. And you actually empathize and sympathize with them. And the main character also feels that. And he doesn't feel good when he has to kill or get rid of them. So there's supposed to be a lot more depth and a lot more story there, but instead they focus on just more kabooms, more explosions, more internal monologues and introductions of all these unnecessary characters who are shallow or shallow of themselves from compared to the webtoons. Why? For 10 episodes, you don't really feel much. You don't feel much pace. You don't feel much action. The first episode, for the first couple of minutes, you do feel like there's something promising there. Again, great casting. The actors are lesser known ones from previous Netflix dramas, but they are good. They have good presence. They're good actors, but their characters stink, shallow, paper thin. So, Netflix, I do hope one day you will be able to make what you did successfully in the past in the States, whether it's Narcos or House of Cards or Mindhunters. We want to see something like that. And Netflix Korea, I suppose. What is going on? Where's all the money going into? It's a huge budget drama, and the CG is very cheap looking. There's not sufficient amount of monster gore action or tactical fighting or physical interesting stunts and whatnot. And the music, what the hell is wrong with the music? There's this, the OST is very abrupt and sudden. It feels like they had some kind of contractual obligations to play some weird songs at the most inappropriate moments. And songs with lyrics don't really fly well, especially when it comes to climax or endings. And they always have this random songs that don't seem to work that suddenly plays.